We're live and it's show day. Welcome back to all of our listeners.
Hands.
Date
Yeah,
has arrived.
it has finally arrived. And yeah, we'll be speaking all things show day, top to bottom.
What to
Gosh,
expect?
what to expect, different feelings, different ways in which, well, I guess the reflections you have from being at the show, the venue, how the day runs, what kind of show it is. Gosh, there's so much we can speak about on this one as well.
And it's all of those feelings from a prep to actually deliver you to that day. That date is cemented in your mind for, probably I'd say a minimum of 12 weeks. Most people would do a prep. And that's a push in itself, isn't it? So it could be, 6 months, or did you say you prep for like 42 weeks?
Yeah, my gosh, my last pro prep was 42.
So that day is for 42 weeks, every single day.
Yeah.
That day is at the forefront of your mind. And it's just phenomenal, isn't it? Because you go through all these, like, I don't know about you, but I've got it in my mind the day, and then I have those like, right, okay, so it's 50 days, 49 days, and then sometimes it's 2 weeks, then it's however many hours, then suddenly the day arrives, and it's so absorbing when you're on your way to that date. And then when you get there, depending on, if you've competed before as well, whether it's your first time,
Mhm.
so many emotions that arrive on that day.
And it changes every show.
Yeah.
It's you always think, right, I'm ready, I've done this before. And of course you do have a level of experience. You do turn up with a different mindset the further you go on and the more shows you do. But
Yeah.
it's still every show day has kind of, it means something to you.
Yeah.
The preps are always different because of maybe, where you've been at a certain point in your life. And yeah, I think it's this mixture of elation because you've got there, nervousness, good nerves because you're ready to obviously perform and bring everything you've been working hard on and put it on stage in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And then there's also that kind of, I think, I guess, not anxiety, but just, you're there to be judged. You're there to be, it's a competition, as we've said in these other videos, and you want to kind of almost earn what you've put in.
Yeah.
And you're looking for that kind of placing. If it's, some people, everyone does competition for different reasons, of course, but you and I, we spoke before the podcast, like we both go in with the mindset of we want to win.
Yeah.
We
No matter what
win.
yeah. When you compete and you get to a certain, I think once you've won a competition, you get that feel for what it's like to win. And it's very difficult to not then want to do that again.
Yeah.
And like I said to you, coming second and various other things since winning a show, it's all brought experience, but nothing quite beats winning a show. And you get that hunger for it, and that changes, like from your first competition, when you just go in, first competition, you just want to almost get on the stage, do your thing and go, because it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then winning a show and going through into the pro division, etc., as we said,
Yeah.
it's in there, isn't it? It's very hard to not go in with that attitude.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, there's what you just said there, that kind of element of just wanting to get on, do it and get off. Like, I think show day is different for everyone. Like, I'd love to hear kind of how you feel, or maybe we should take our first show days and then kind of where we are now and how you find show day now in
Yeah.
comparison to the very beginning. So maybe that's a good place to start. So do you remember your very, very first show
Mm.
day? And
Yeah, so a mixture of feelings towards it, I guess. Now when I look back, I never would have placed in my first 2 seasons for sure, because for one, I didn't have enough muscle mass. And also, my posing, my stage presence, it wasn't there, because this isn't something that comes naturally to me.
yeah,
I've always been okay at everything, PE at school and drama, all these types of things at school, and what you do as a teen, I've always been middle of the road. So when suddenly I'm being up on stage and I'm competing and I've got to have these, it's a performance, isn't it? It definitely wasn't natural to me. At the time, however, I thought, well, I've got potential to win here. And I truly, I thought, well, I thought I've hit my macros to the exact for 6 months.
Yeah.
I've done my posing practice that I believed was good enough until I competed. I did every single training session,
Yeah.
everything that you would, I guess, amount to being a winner.
Yeah.
However, on the day, the judges don't know any of that. They just see X amount of athletes and they make the decision based on, the criteria that they're looking for. So it was a very, very harsh shock for me, especially the first one. The second one, because I then had an off season and gone into a second show, I even felt, similar to the first one, that I had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I did not have enough muscle mass, and I can look at that objectively now. But it was a really difficult time for me, I guess, because especially the first two, I was there, like we've said, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I was thinking, why wouldn't people want to talk to me, share my experience, share my day? I'm backstage trying to speak to people, and unfortunately, there was girls looking at me, and I'm like, oh, what have I done? What have I done? And I don't think you realize that people, if they are in their own intrinsic place, which we probably do ourselves now because we've done it so many times, people there with their feet up, eating their rice cakes, just on their own, headphones in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it almost like scared me that I suddenly hadn't earned the right to be there because I didn't actually know what I was really doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, yeah.
What was your actual first competition? Like, which federation and things did you do when you very first began?
So I did UK BFF, the Sugars Classic.
Yeah.
I fell into that one, I guess, because at the time, so we're talking 7 years ago, UK BFF were probably the biggest or one of the
Oh,
big.
they were massive.
Yeah.
Like they were the federation back
Yeah.
10 years ago. Yeah, 7 to 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I definitely, it was them and BMBF that I'd been to those two shows. So I'd been to a bit BMBF, I'd been to a UK BFF. So because I didn't know about even different federations and stuff, I was like, right, okay, so these are the two federations I've got. So I looked at the dates, and the Sugars Classic is the last one of the season. It probably still is now, to be fair, because it's like mid-November.
It's the November one, yeah. I have actually been to the Sugars Classic a couple of times. I wonder if it was that year.
Yeah, well, I mean, and because I looked at the calendar, and basically I just started with Stephen, and I needed as long as I could get because I was just like a normal run of the mill person that used the gym a few times and come off the back of triathlon.
Yeah.
So it was to just really get the experience of first show.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went for the latest one in the calendar, and that was purely, I guess my focus was to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following year I did the same again because we needed as long as possible for an off season. Hence why if we could allow as long as possible for an off season and then compete again with a prep. But it could have easily gone in the direction of not wanting to compete again, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Like we're going to do a pod on post show as well, and that will take us to some dark places, I imagine. But after those shows, like legit, I know it sounds maybe a bit too harsh, but I just thought, do I even want to be alive at the moment? Like I honestly, everything went into those preps. Like I can't tell you, like it's it makes me go hot and bothered now because you pour everything in, and you're on stage for however long, no one really looks at you because you're not at the level you need to be to compete, but you don't know that at the time.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and this is kind of what the learning curve's all about in competing. And I think even working with a lot of first timers, I have to remind myself sometimes, that they're where they are in their mindset and understanding what to expect. You can talk about it a lot. And given there's a lot more information now, even these podcasts that we're doing now, that can give people a lot more insight, which is fantastic. But until you go and do it and realize it kind of solidifies what this competing malarkey is all about, to be honest.
Yeah.
you get there, you really see, okay, this is what I've been prepping for in real.
Yeah.
It's not just an idea or a goal in the mind anymore. The show day is here, it's there, and it's really visceral, I think is a good word to explain it, because you're experiencing it physically, you're experiencing it mentally, you're meeting people, but you're exactly what you've just said, is that you're seeing people in a positive way, but you're also seeing people maybe further down the line than you that are totally 100% focused on their own goal, and you don't exist until it's after the show. Do you know what I mean?
Literally, like, you know, some of the looks I got, it was like fucking hell.
Yeah.
You know, it was literally like, I feel like I need to go home. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Why am I here? And suddenly it's like really intense because you're just completely new to it. And it's like mental, like everyone's tanned, pumping up, eating rice cakes. And you're looking around, in one mind, you're like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
In other minds, I had never been exposed to bodybuilding before. You know, I'm from, you know, Bognor Regis.
Yeah.
No one talks about it. You know, we've just got like leisure centers, and now we've got gyms that are sort of bodybuilding specific. But when I started out, it was like I was, you know, on my own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And over the years, that's got better because it's experience, isn't it? I definitely think now, I don't know about you, but because it's so popular now and there's so many federations, I doubt that you'd maybe have the same experience that I had in that intensity. And I hope that's the case anyway.
Yeah, I think that every federation has a culture as well. And I think this is like something people start to learn and stuff as well. But back when we probably started, like you say, there wasn't as many federations to choose from. There was certainly like an understanding of the type of federation you were going with. It was interesting you said BMBF and UKBFF, because UKBFF was like, you know, the road, well, now doing what Tubos essentially are doing, although they're still on the circuit, and BMBF were the same, but going down to the natural route. So it's just like, it's interesting because that was really all there really was. And well, my first one was Natural Physique Association, which I'll talk about in a bit, but I'll never forget this as well. Like when I first started competing, and I was in a quite a rough, I think I've told you about this, but in a bit of a rough and ready bodybuilding gym, and they used to talk about it like, oh, the mind games of competitors backstage, and they would just keep all their clothes on until like the very last minute and then drop to show you like, wow, look at me, like,
and it's like
my muscle. And then but then also like would say things like, oh, if somebody asks you a question, just lie about it. Just don't tell them don't tell them truth. Like, and I used to think, what? Like, why? Like,
me
that's
too,
so
like,
and even enter my mind, my psyche to kind of act like that. It's just stupid in my opinion. But God, that goes on. You see it. It goes,
and you get huddles of people.
oh yeah, you get like little cliques of people or little teams, you know, from like the prep coach teams or whatever else. And that's
I almost vowed to myself, and I've never actually said this out loud, but if I can make one person comfortable on their show day, especially if it's a first timer, I get so much fulfillment from that, because if someone had done that to me, you know, at that time, it would have changed my life. If I had, you know, if I just had a little bit of insight from maybe a female competitor, it would have done so much for me. But also, you know, all of that journey has made me the bodybuilder I am today, and it's built my resilience. And I guess I've proved to myself that I can withstand some serious fucking shit. Like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
describe it.
But I think that's such a good thing to speak about, because, you know, your first experience of a bodybuilding show, you've kind of had to, well, it's taught you quite a lot on how to deal with that scenario if you're ever faced with it again. But it's also kind of, it's giving you a reality check a little bit, I think. When you're speaking about it, because it sounds to me as well that when you put, well, this is like anything, I guess, but when you put so much emphasis and effort into something, and maybe we didn't prep the mindset for the potential outcome of it not going a certain way, and that's when it can really hit really deep. And I think the nature of what we do is so restrictive, and it channels your energies and changes all other areas of your life. So it's not like you're just taking up, I don't know, a game of tennis that's in 17 weeks time, because you don't have to manipulate your entire body fat for that. You know, it's you're actually genuinely taking your body and your mind physically to a place that you've never ever been to before. So then when you do go and perhaps not have the experience you want, God, that really does hurt. It does hurt.
Yeah, and it's a bit like where I said about macros and everything. You know, I literally was,
To the
you know,
T.
Stephen would say like, have you made this up? And, you know, when I went to a few camps with like Team Box, when there was more coaches and stuff, everyone would like make comments as to how exact I was and how precise. And until I was exposed to other bodybuilders, I thought that's how everyone did it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I thought that everyone would measure everything to the gram, and like I would measure my milk in my tea, and all my supplements went into my Fitness Pal, and every single thing I put into my body was on my Fitness Pal. And then over the years, there's certain things that if I have something every day, so like my cups of tea every day, I have 3 cups of tea every day, and I don't track that because I have it every single day.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that now Stephen and I have worked towards, that over the years I've been able to have those things and not need to measure like milk every day, because that does get very intense. But
Yeah.
you know, that almost gave me the substance to think that, well, the judges will see that, like I'm sure I'll get rewarded for that. And they literally, like I said, they've got X amount of athletes and they judge you on the day, and also, you know, how much you weigh.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if on show day you've hit a new low weigh in.
Yeah, I know this is my common thing. You know, nobody knows your weight on stage, so it doesn't matter what you look like.
You know, I got to the point where I'd weigh myself like 3 times a day, and now I can, you know, tell people that actually, you know, I did that, and it was very, very, I don't know what the right word, but you're so like pressured. You know, if you stepped on the scales and you were 0.1 of a kilo heavier, that could ruin your whole day.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we could do a whole episode on just what the scales do from a mental perspective. And yeah, again, the scales are kind of a point of contention in a contest prep, because yes, of course, that's at various points they've got to come down. Of course they do. You're losing body fat. But people get very confused, and particularly females, in body weight and body fat and what that looks like in terms of a number on the scales. And I mean, trust me, I could speak about this for a long time, but maybe we'll save that one for another day. And guys, if you want us to talk about that, tell us, because the scale, like, you know, focusing on the scale weight is a really big deal. It is a big thing that you have to mentally understand how to deal with. I think you're right. It's like you are micro scrutinizing absolutely everything. But to be honest, Sarah, like, I'm listening to you, right? And this is really strange, because before I came on this podcast, I had a really nice conversation with Andrew about kind of, well, I was looking at him across the table and I was like, we're kind of unique, aren't we? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're both pro bodybuilders living this lifestyle here. You're having your food over there, I'm having my food over here. And I just had one of those, you know, there's one of those weird moments where you just like,
yeah,
we're total,
we're completely
abnormalities. Like, you know, and I was just talking about it. And then we got into, anyway, cut a long story short, we got into this conversation about what enables somebody to go through their bodybuilding and become a pro. And then I was thinking, we were talking about this, and the level of detail in which you've just described there in your early days of competing has got you to where you are now. Your levels of discipline, your focus, your attention to detail, the food weighing, the concentrating on what's bettering you as a competitor, knowing, because let's be honest, to get to a good level of competing, those things, those little minor details that you've just mentioned, the weighing of, you know, your supplements, people forget they're downing, you know, pre-workouts every day, that pre-workout might have 20-30 calories in it. You've got no idea.
I remember the first time someone saw me track pre-workout, funny you say that, and it was like I was an alien.
I know, exactly. I had the conversation with a client today. She was buzzing about the fact we're going back to the gym. She was like, Steph, I've bought all these pre-workouts. I was like, right, okay, so how many calories are in them?
And people don't realise.
They don't have a clue. And that is the same with proteins. It's the same with intro workouts. You know, I've got one through there that I have every day, but I know that that's got 30 additional calories in it. Now, some people are going to be more or lax in their off season or not, but the point is these things matter when it comes to that show day performance. Like when you're talking about, you're kind of almost saying it like beating yourself up. I'm listening to you in admiration, Sarah, to be honest, because if more people had the diligence to track and measure and really realize what you need to do to be at the height of competitiveness and be brilliant on stage, those things matter massively. And I drum this home all the time with my guys, like precision equals results. That's it. It's so straightforward in my head. The more precise you can be, the more amazing the result's going to be for you.
And I definitely feel like Kieran said exactly the same as what you said there. I'd always, that first time I went to that sort of group environment, bodybuilders, and suddenly people were like, almost like I'm weird. And I'm thinking, I'm literally like, what? Because I'll get up at 5, I'll food prep, go for an hour walk, get most of my steps in, do this, do that, go to the gym, da da da. And when I'm around other bodybuilders, they don't operate like that. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why isn't everyone putting 1,000,000% into this? And it's really hard to sort of get your head around. And then I've gone on the path of, it works for me.
Yeah, it works for you. It's your routine. A big part of this as well, I think. If we even just put bodybuilding aside for 1 second, that routine is so underestimated, if that makes sense. Like for every area of your life. It is vital. And I think we've talked about this before, but getting that routine, and if this works for you, which it does, works for you, it's not harming anybody, it's your thing, the routine works. And it's really important just to even have those subtle routines to help you navigate through life, regardless of your fitness goal. Like just even having good, healthy wake up times, bedtimes, eating your food effectively so your digestive system's all right, behaviors around food, like it's so important. It's just so important. And I think, oh my gosh, what we're doing? We just veer off into all these areas. But the routine to the stage, the more precise it can be, and just like you've explained it, the better it's going to become. And I think, you've probably experienced now that level of detail as a pro bikini competitor, is now what pro level competitors do.
Yeah, and it's extremely normal for me. Like I actually fight. So in my periods of off season or maintenance, so at the moment I'm cruising a bit till I start my next prep. Stephen is quite keen for me to have, an off-plan day a week, or, having some off-plan foods, enjoying foods with Kieran, my family, and experiences, because he knows that, what in one respect in prep, I'm absolute, like I'm to the letter.
Yeah.
I like that. And also, you've got to sometimes think about the bigger picture we've touched on before about relationships and
balance.
And I actually find my off-plan days extremely hard, because I don't know what macros I'm on. I don't know, I'll have my protein every 3 to 5 hours ovs. But if I no joke, if I'm having my cheesecake that I love, I have it with a protein shake. If I'm having, a meal, I'll always have, say, double chicken, stuff like that. And I've always done that, and that works for me. But actually, especially in a prep and off season, really, I love ticking those boxes, and I can still live at the same time as ticking boxes. And I think that's the main difference here, is that when I first prepped for my first shows, I was so focused that I wasn't actually living at the same time. And do you feel like that the more you've progressed as an athlete?
I think so. I guess I have a slightly different approach to my off season to you, Sarah, but I know a lot of people who work very similar in the sense that you do. You're still very precise with your off season. I'd say that my off season, I'm precise, but I have learned over the years that my off seasons, I need to have a balanced relationship with my food, and that does require an element of flexi eating. So for me, and you probably feel like this now as well, but I can eyeball a plate of food and know very clearly that that's roughly around 40 grams of protein. That's roughly around I don't know, 100 grams of veg, and that's roughly around 250 grams of white potato. I can almost do it in I can do it in any surrounding, a shop,
Sometimes it's like, I wish
restaurant.
I could stop.
But that's a really interesting conversation as well, because when you start competing, this is something nobody explains to you, but your viewpoint of food changes. You don't look at food anymore as, I just fancy that. You look at it as in, what macros has that got in it? What protein, carbs, fats is that? How much calories is that going to be? That's what happens to your relationship with food, and you either let that take over, or you start to learn and educate yourself about it, and that's another different podcast as well. But
we are going to look to do in the future, aren't we? So
yeah, we are, definitely. But for me, off season is about ensuring that I'm in. So I like to stay roughly within, and we'll talk about this, but roughly within 6 or 7 kilos of my stage weight. And I know roughly what I know my calorie intake across the week needs to be a certain amount for a surplus from my progression, etc. But I will have what I kind of call clean week, healthy treat. So I'll do like a clean week, and then I'll do maybe something slightly off plan, because that makes me, I like having that off plan food. So for me, I'll enjoy that off plan balance. And then I'll come back to my clean week. And my clean week, although it's maybe not as routinely structured, it's still the same thing every day.
Yeah,
it's still the same thing. And you just get so used to it, I think. And my gut's like that.
This is my big
appetite likes that. I enjoy eating healthily. I love it. I just love it. I love eating healthy. I love having a fit, healthy lifestyle. And it all goes towards the big goal as well. So yeah.
Because I feel like as well, when we talk about show day and food, there's that massive pressure of, for me, I don't know if it's the same with figure, but pretty much every show that I've done, so I've done, I think, probably 7 shows now.
Yeah.
When you're backstage, and especially if the bikini categories are really busy, there's tons of girls with what they're going to eat after they get off the stage.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And this is like, straight away, this is rife. And that was another, I guess, pressure on show day that I felt. I've got one that sticks in my mind. There was 2 girls we're all in our bikinis backstage, and there's probably maybe 20 of us in this sort of huddled in this changing room, as you can imagine. And these 2 girls, they were saying about, I did this as a challenge. One of them had a food disorder, and one of them had been overweight. So the food disorder was underweight, so anorexic, and then she'd come up to stage condition. So actually she'd improved her overall weight. And the one that was overweight had got to stage condition and obviously lost weight.
Yeah.
And they both had like rucksacks and whatever. And one of them opened the rucksack and she pulled out, no joke, like the cinema pick a mix.
Gosh.
So she pulled out one and it was filled with pick a mix. Then she pulled out another one out this same rucksack, and I'm thinking, Christ. And then she pulled out Oreos, Reese's, everything, and put it. And then she was offering it around, and we hadn't even been on yet. And I was like, I didn't want to say anything, but I'm thinking, everyone stick to your protocol.
Yeah, like everybody stay calm.
And and then it's like you can see everyone going, oh, I'd love to have that. And I've always tried to almost, if I can, say to people, please just try and remember that you're here to perform on the stage and enjoy that first. Please, stop thinking about the food that you're going to have after you compete, when you haven't even competed yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a massive thing for me. I
get that so much. I think there's quite a big, I have a bit of a mantra with my clients about this as well, that remember that, food's always going to be there, first of all. You don't need to stockpile every goddamn thing and take it with you as if it's going out of fashion, because it's going to be there.
Yeah.
We've all probably done it in the early days of competing, where you've done the bit of a blowout post-show, you've maybe had too much or whatever, and you just feel crap. You feel absolutely crap. And we'll talk about that in the post-show. But the whole point of you getting and physically manipulating your body to get down to where you are is what you should be really proud of. You should be really thinking about that physique that you've you have managed with the hard work to attain.
Yeah.
And part of that is understanding what your relationship with food is, and how are you going to healthily think about that after you come away from the stage. And post show is more important than the stage, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, next time. This kind of, I've seen it backstage as well, where, you know, there's everything, cupcakes, like donuts, God, every single thing. And you do, and I hate to sort of kind of pinpoint this, but you do tend to see really poor behaviors with food right there and then. And that's a kind of warning sign to me anyway, of, you know, the competitor who is food focused rather than what they're doing focused, if you know what I mean. What's going to happen with that?
I can't help, and it sounds like you're the same, it like really gets to me.
Yeah, it gets to me as well. Think as well, like, if you think about it this way, like, what would you rather, right? Would you rather step off stage, regardless of the placing, right? Would you rather step off stage and go and find a really cool restaurant, celebrate with your friends and family, choose a few nice things from the menu, love it, have the best time laughing, talking about the show, feeling great, celebrating with people you love, or sitting in a bit of a skanky backstage room, smashing your face full of just junk?
Yeah.
Like, because essentially that's what you're doing.
It literally, like, that is literally it. And the junk one, like that, the first couple of seasons was like, I literally wanted to fit as much food in myself as I could, because I'm not going to say not doing it for the right reasons, but I'd just been like led down this psychological path that it was about getting the performance done and then being rewarded with all this food.
Yeah, and I think that's so natural. That happens. My first experience of post show was exactly the same.
And you're hungry. You are hungry.
You're hungry. You're exposed to food again, and you've not built that learning curve yet.
Yeah.
Because it's like your razor sharp on that goal. You do the goal. Suddenly the goal's not there, and you've got choice. What do you do with choice? Like, you're not prepared for choice, so you just eat, and then you have some more, and then maybe have some more, and then you're like, fuck it, I've eaten that, I'll have that as well. And then suddenly you're like in a total food frenzy, you know, and that can last for some people quite a long time, and they put on kilos and kilos and kilos in a very short period of time, and then they're the unhappiest they've been for a while, and then you have to unravel that. And that's a huge point we can talk about in the next post show one.
Sure. I think it was nice for us to touch on that today, because I really do feel like that's a massive part of show day, because our sport is physique based and it requires dieting. You know, essentially it's not, for me, it's not, you know, some people say it's 50% nutrition, 50% training. It's 110% training, 110% nutrition. I don't mean that to sound like, oh yeah, you know, it has to be 100%, you know, in the fact that it has to be intense, but I still think that it needs to be 100%, you know.
It does.
You know, why not give your best? You know, this is a sport that's based on performance, but it's also based on if you can stick to a diet. If you can withstand the training, if you can get to that show day. So, you know, if you've given it 100%, and then after you compete and you get off the stage, you can, you know, then tackle it and hopefully have those memories with friends and things. But on the day, you know, so much goes into that. And I just wish that you could tell everyone, especially first timers, immerse yourself in your day.
And
this is
like,
your day.
This is your day, and you know, don't rush through it. Don't like let your anxiety
get away.
You. Like, just get yourself a proper awesome show day checklist the few days before. Tick those boxes off. Get your stuff packed and ready, you know, and get to that venue and open those doors and just take it all in. I go through a bit of a reflective process with my guys. So I get my first timers to do a positive and negative day journal. The day. I talk to them about it before they go in. You're going to go in there, and I want you to take it all in. And I want you to think about what was awesome, what wasn't so awesome.
Yeah.
Because these things are going to really shape your understanding of going forward in the sport as well.
Yeah.
And every federation is different, every show is different, every venue is different, every lighting setup is different, every, you know, backstage is different, every culture is different. So it's about finding something you love. And I remember doing a couple of shows in my very first year. So I did.
Yeah. Who did you compete with first?
So it was the NPA first, which was the Natural Physique Association, BNBF, which is, you obviously know BNBF, and UK DFBA. That was my 3 shows. I was going for all, then I was just shooting for the natural circuit because I thought level playing field, this is where I'm at.
Yep.
See how we go. And 3 extraordinarily different shows.
I was going to say to you, were they different? Yeah.
So different. You know, NPA was like, my very first, it was NPA Yorkshire. It was in like
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
Love
Shout
it.
out to Leeds. Lived there 10 years of my life. Whoop whoop. I love Yorkshire. It's great. But yeah, so I was down there. I was in the immersed with it. Went to that show. They were at this point they were still using Dream Tan. I think I'd maybe mentioned this on another podcast where we're all standing there like patting it on, and it's just like slick. And if you even just touch something, there's just like a big brown mark over everything. And it was just so bizarre because all I can remember, just even sitting here, is walking into this big, which was like a fitness center hall.
Yeah.
With a maid stage. And all I can hear was just slapping. It was so funny because the Dream Tan's just like this, and just hundreds of people there just in the backstage area like slapping themselves. It was just a really crazy experience for me, and like I had a good day. I had like a really good day. I just had a kind of, I knew a few people, so that helped me because I had like people around me that I knew.
Well, did you go in as figure? You've always been figure division, have you?
Always been figure since day dot. I'll be honest, I didn't even know bikini existed when I first started.
I didn't really know about figure.
Exactly. And I think that's interesting though, because, you know, my perception was like, I think I mentioned this, but was Nicole Wilkins on the wall, and she was figure, and that's all I knew. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go figure. But I knew I was figure because I've always been more athletic built. So for me, it was figure, and just, I look back on the show now as well, and I just start to think like, it was a great day for me because I won that show. So I had like, I had a real elation because I had no expectations at all. Like for me, it was kind of like going into that show, and it was like doing a performance because I've come from a performance background. So for me, I was in a very comfortable place. Does that make sense? Like, I've been around stages all my life. I've danced all my life. I've stood up on stages, and funnily enough, as I've gone on in my bodybuilding, I've actually found it much more difficult, which is bizarre, but I'll no doubt go into that. But getting on stage there, it was just like I was like going on to dance. It was felt like that to me. Like I had no concept of really what I was doing either. I knew I'd learned a few poses, I'd practiced a few things, I'd turned around a few times.
I remember I used to do posing practice. I found it on YouTube, and it was quarter turn to the right, and I had this just quarter turn to the right, quarter turn.
Yeah. I just remember as well it being a really, like the NPA, and still to this day, and I've got to give credit out to Michael Phillips here who runs that show. It's a family-oriented show. It was like the first ever natural federation to be created kind of in the UK.
Yeah.
And it still maintains this very like, we're born and bred here, like this is our thing. We're family orientated. We celebrate natural bodybuilding, and it's still like that to this day. And you walk into that auditorium, it's kind of like the same as what going in 2012 was like for me. And I kind of like that. Like it's got a special little place for me in my heart in that show. And it wasn't the win that did it, actually. It was just because I'd moved my life all the way down to Yorkshire. It's like I'd found like a little community that I was kind of comfortable in as well, because I'd been from Scotland. So for me, it was kind of like, I found a bit of a home here, like in something I enjoy, and I think I can do this. and I like it, and I love training, and I'm meeting new people. So yeah, I didn't really overthink anything, but I came away from it. I remember going back to my flat. I remember doing what I do to this day, which is my post-show meal, which is smashing a pizza. I had a big pizza, I had some ice cream, and yeah, did some muscle shots on my wee decking. That's about it.
I think I'm like the only bodybuilder that doesn't really like pizza. I think I must have,
Oh
I've
my
got something
God,
wrong with me.
Sarah, what is wrong with you?
I just don't know what's wrong with me. It like everybody, and I don't like ice cream.
Oh, that's my that's sacrilege to me. That's my that's my thing. Pizza and ice cream.
And you see so many backstage donuts, like pizza
Donuts is like
donuts.
yeah. But like it's a funny thing. It's a really funny thing. But I mean that was kind of my first experience, and then I rolled on to doing the other two natural federations, and I had a really successful year. I went through all three British finals. I won the UKDFBA figure championship in 2012, so I took the overall there for the figure. And then BNBF I took second place. And yeah, so for me it was like a year, the first year I competed, it was mental.
I think that's quite good that we've both had such different experiences there, because
Yeah.
I'd imagine people listening could have either or a mixture.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's a funny thing because I can't describe it. It's like when you win a show, you almost can't quite believe like it's real or something. Like you kind of come away from it and you're like, oh, I won. Right.
God,
It's
I'm like,
great.
I'm famous.
I think I'm going from there. I came away from the show. I actually did the exact same thing that everybody does, which is has the blowout. You've got to learn. You've got to do that. You've got to go through the putting on the weight too quickly. You've got to unravel those patterns. You've got to understand what off season is. And if you want to come back, you have to realize you can't get too heavy in off season. You can't do all those things. And then you progress from there. And every show day since, for the years I've been competing after that, has been very, very different. Every single one. And actually, I think I'd say the thing I've learned the most is I'm much more reflective now on show days, and I'm not kind of just like, oh, this is great. I'm there to learn, watch, and grow as a person. That's kind of the difference now, is where do I want to go with my competitive career, and what does this all mean to me, and why have I taken up the last 10 years of my life doing this now? Is like, those are the bigger questions for me.
Yeah, and I definitely think now, like, you know, we said we've got that within us to want to win.
Yeah.
A lot of the shows that I see myself going into in the future and that I have been going into are qualifiers for something bigger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's that element of, if I don't win my class, I'm not going to qualify. And that's not an option for me. And that's what I go into the show as. And the experiences I've had, I don't feel that it could get much worse. You know, like we touched on when we spoke to Georgia about different criteria and things like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've pretty much experienced most negatives and positives of
I agree.
sport. So it's like, you know, every show I go into now, there's a view of it leading on to something, because I want to progress in the sport. And, you know, it's delving into different federations, different countries that you're going to qualify for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, for me now, it's like, can I see a show that I could qualify for in a different country, in a different league?
Yeah, totally.
And there's more complexities to it. With regards to show day, like there's definitely the big things to think about are those fundamentals that we've touched on before. So, you know, like the location, your timings on the day, so your show day checklist, but also alongside that checklist, you've almost got, you know, if you can have your timings of your tan, makeup, all of those sorts of things, and being prepared for your day. So that I find if I've got my list in front of me, at this time I eat, at this time I tan, at this time I, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
You can then immerse in between those things. Otherwise, you're literally chasing, you know, because sometimes, and this is a massive thing, that if you've never competed before, the shows, like you could overrun and your category might be like 3 hours late.
Yeah. Oh, that, you know, the overrunning happens, is quite common.
We should probably talk about that, because that for me was like, I'm not, because of how intense I am with everything, I was like, fuck, oh, like my meals, what
Yeah.
and then if, like we said before, if you start getting stressed, oh God.
Yeah, I know. And actually you've just touched on something there. Like I would say for show day, the most important thing you can do, regardless of everything that's going on, if your class is late, if you can't find the pump up area, whatever, you remain as calm as possible.
Yeah.
Just relax, keep your feet up when you can,
Yeah.
and just be prepared. Like you say, enter the venue, go to the registration table, register, find out the rough timings of the day, figure out who the compere or the backstage guy is that goes searching for competitors and everything else, and just figure out, because you know roughly, like you want to keep an eye on that stage, you want to know where the classes are up to, because if you know that men's physique are on just before bikini, or I don't know, bikini's just on before figure, for example, and they're up there, you should be ready backstage, they're prepared to be guided to wherever. And depending on like the organization of the federation, they'll show you where the pump up area is before. Pump ups usually roughly around half an hour before your class, and that's where you're going to be obviously doing your pump up.
I love that bit. I love
my
it.
fave as well, so good. And you're doing your pump up. You might have a pump up protocol. Most coaches give them out to their athletes. I've certainly got a very structured one. You're doing your pump up, you're focused, and then you're on. But all of those little things you've mentioned in between there do happen. Like classes run on. They maybe have to have an interval, and it doesn't say it anywhere. And you're like, what's this random interval? But they've just said, oh, guys, you know what? The judges need a breather. So we're going to
I've had that before.
Yeah.
I started pumping up and the judges went off for an hour. And I had my 20 minutes before stage carbs. I ate my sweets.
That would actually stress me out.
Yeah, I pumped up and I ate my giant straws, my 40 grams of carbs. And then I was like, and they were like, okay, so the judges need a breather, like you said, we'll be reconvening soon. And it was an hour. And I was like, oh my God.
That's it. I mean, these things happen. These things totally happen. And then, yeah, the most important thing is just stick to your plan. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go eating
weird stuff like,
I don't know, Wendy's cupcakes or whatever. Just
who's Wendy?
I don't know, but she should definitely open that business sometime soon.
But yeah, it's definitely that though, isn't it? Because it's peer pressure.
Oh yeah, people are like, oh, go on, you're done, you're here now, nothing's going to change anything. I'm like, are you joking?
And oh my God, this just sprung to mind. What are your thoughts on when people offer you alcohol?
Yeah, okay, so this is an interesting one, because this is like really interesting, because I've been to several different kinds of shows, and some people do the whole have a shot before they go on stage.
Right.
Yeah. The harder the classes get, I mean, you can see a lot of the bodybuilders, like some of the guys, like they'll do that kind of thing to dry out or do whatever they're going to do. I remember going to the NABA Universe 2019. I did the NABA Universe, and it was the first time I've done like an open show for me. So I was shitting myself because I was like, oh my God, these girls are jacked, and I'm this tiny little girl. I was just saying, yeah, I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to hold my own, it's going to be fine. And anyway, that was where I saw the most prolific alcohol use I've ever seen in my life. The girls backstage were like, just one of the girls, her whole ritual was just, they had it was like rum, it was like a bottle of rum, right? And she was just casually in the dressing room, like putting her makeup on, having a swig of the rum, going and like doing whatever. She was literally half cut before we even got on stage. But I've seen people pissed on stage. Have you not?
Yeah, and
I'm waddling on, and you're like,
I have tried. So one show day, I said to Stephen, I was like, I've never tried alcohol. I've never seen the attraction to have alcohol, but why don't I try it this one? So my favorite is Disaronno. So I weighed out enough Disaronno to equate to my pre-stage carb. So I swapped it for the carbs. Yeah, I just thought, oh well, you know, fuck it, join the crowd. And I thought, this is shit. Like, for me, completely pointless.
Yeah, and that's things. For some people, it's going to be pointless. For some people, it takes them a bit the edge off. It's like Dutch courage, isn't it? It's that kind of principle. The other principle is some people will have the alcohol the night before. And there's obviously lots of things I could talk about on that. I've tried the alcohol the night before. I don't have alcohol now. I would never do it like that. However, I do have, and this is the night before, and I do it religiously now, I have half a small glass of red wine. And I do it for one reason, not for any protocol reason, not for drying out, not for like the diuretic effects of alcohol or whatever people want to go on about. I do it to help me sleep, because it helps just take a wee bit the edge off for me, so that I actually can just settle. Me and Andrew have a wee ritual. If we compete together, we have a little chink, and then we go to sleep and we just chill out and watch whatever's on TV, and it's all good. And it's kind of almost like my little celebration to myself.
Yeah, I do you know, I was thinking before this about stuff that might come up, and one of them was sleep. And I sort of thought it'd be good to just say to people that are listening, it's quite normal if you do have, you know, extremely disturbed sleep or no sleep before a show.
Very normal. Very, very normal. I've had shows where I've slept like a log, and I've had shows where I've been up I've been up till the next morning. Like, I just can't sleep because the nerves are there. And I'd certainly say in the earlier shows I was more nervous than.
It's my top tip from my own experience. I don't know about you, but if you can't sleep, whether that's nerves, whether that's excitement, you know, all of these things are good feelings to have because you care about it.
Yeah.
I would say just use your time in bed to rest. Don't focus on I have to sleep, otherwise it's going to be a shit show day, you know, everything's going to go wrong, lay in your bed and just rest, you know, conserve your energies, because actually I'd imagine from your background of, you know, you go into things quite, you know, scientific based as well.
Yeah.
But actually, you know, if you haven't slept too bad before, you know, sleep is broken in a prep anyway. But if you have enough rest, that will facilitate you to be able to get through your show day and do your best.
Yeah, you're bang on. You know, minimizing movement, even if you can't actually officially sleep the night before, as long as you are resting the physique, you know, you'll be a wee bit fatigued on the day, yeah, because you've not had sleep, but you won't have.
Would be anyway.
Yeah, the only difference here is, and we touched on it earlier in the conversation, is if you are lying there and your cortisol, though, is through the roof, just like you said, your stress hormone is going, I'm going to look shit, and your mind's going off on some journey that, you know, isn't just not the case. Yeah. That's dangerous. That's where the danger kind of comes in. So it's just if you can't sleep, don't worry about it. It's part of the nervous energy. It's good. And like you say, just kind of keep yourself rested, calm, maybe listen to some music, do something that's going to chill you out. If you don't fall asleep fully, that's fine. It's not going to ruin your day. It's just you're just going to wake up maybe a wee bit tired. That's all.
Yeah. And that's definitely, you know, a big bit of advice.
Yeah, I agree.
People, mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, leading into your show. And also, I guess it's worth saying about if you are staying in potentially a hotel, mm-hmm. Actually, those heard once, I don't know if it's true, but I remember hearing on a podcast that it can take, you know, 2 to 3 days to get used to your surroundings of where the toilet is and different things when you're in a new environment to sleep. So actually it could be, you know, pretty normal to not be able to sleep just because you're in a different environment if you're in a hotel.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And again, it's like it comes down to everybody's really different in how they approach change and surroundings and all these things. And I think if there is anybody who's particularly worried about that and they have the ability to do so, it might even be worthwhile going down the day before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would.
Just like go and settle yourself, like just so you're not having to do all of the figuring it all out the day before, rather than just doing it maybe another day before, if you know what I mean. So that the day before the show is just you chilling. That's it. Yeah, that's a massive point. So yeah, I mean, we've covered like the night before. We've covered obviously the show. You will be doing other things on the day, like getting your hair, makeup, and things done if you've decided to do that externally. Like, don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I just kind of think the less running around you're doing, the better. And a lot of these federations now will say, book your tan, your hair, your makeup, here, and you're going there for hair, you're going there for makeup, you're going there for tan, and you actually find that the whole freaking day you're just running around to people to get ready. I don't do that. I try and get a makeup artist or a hair artist like well in advance to come to my, like, wherever I'm staying. So I'm in my peaceful place where I'm calm, I'm happy, and and just glam up and get excited rather than wondering where I am and running around a city I don't know, because that's so stressful.
Yeah, because also makeup artists, I don't think I've ever been on time at a show to get my makeup done, as in they're running behind.
Oh, really? Right. Okay.
Yeah, so they'd be saying, "Oh, can you come back in half an hour?" And I'm like,
Oh
"Well,
God,
I
that would
can
that.
after." And it really does, like, so for me, I do my own hair because, for one, I know my hair. And when I've tried to have it done, it never goes how I want it to.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Pisses me off. And so I do my own hair. So I can do that. I've got my own like 3-day protocol for that.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Makeup and tan I do at the venue normally if I can find the right, always tan, but makeup artists, I do have a look around and what have you. So they're going to be at certain times. But like we said in our peak week podcast,
Mm-hmm.
if you can book your makeup, your tan and things like that, say 6 months in advance, you get to choose your spot.
Yeah.
So you can marry it up. You can allow some time in between for one of your meals maybe, or where it may be. And that's a really, really good place to be. Where if it's say like the week before and they're like, the makeup artist has got 2 slots left on the Instagram story, and you're like, oh shit, I better book that in. You're getting the slot they've got.
That's the thing, like I even just talking about that like gives me the freaks, seriously. Like,
It's stressful.
yeah, this is why like I even do it for my teams and my guys. Like, I go down with them, I book appointments, I get them all done, I bring it so that they're so chilled.
Yeah.
And I ask for feedback from all my clients on how they find it. And I've had some clients who've gone down the route of booking through the venue or the so not the venue, the federation or whatever, and then comparing it to kind of just having in-house, just doing it whilst wherever you are. And hands down, it's always been the latter, because you're just, like you say, you're in control of it. And if anybody needs any knowledge on good makeup artists, I pretty much know one in every city.
Hit this girl
I've got
up.
like a list of makeup artists and hair artists that are like my go-tos, wherever, especially in Birmingham, Manchester. I've got a girl in London, and I've got a couple up here in Scotland. So anybody wants to know any, hit me up.
But it's definitely those considerations. And another big thing that nearly caught me out, and I've seen catch people out really badly, is make sure that you know what fees are involved for potential membership, potential show day, admin fees, whatever else the federation is going to, expect you to pay. Find that out before, because I actually went to a show. It was probably my second or third UK BFF show.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember queuing up, and I'd already done the 4-year membership, because you could do 1 year, 4 year, depending on how long you want to stay with the Fed. So I'd done 4 years. And this person turned up and they thought they were just paying the £10 entry fee. And they were like, no, it's £120 yearly fee or whatever it is. You have to pay that plus the fee. And this person was like, are you fucking having me on? And literally going mad. And they were like, I haven't got fucking 120 quid. And they went.
Yeah, what a
So
shame.
they've done a whole prep and no show.
That's the thing. I mean, people don't realize this, but bodybuilding isn't cheap. It's not a cheap sport.
And you need to calculate this to make sure you have funds.
Yeah, you totally do. It's not like some people really come into this kind of with the blinders on. It's not cheap. You've got membership, like you say, you've got the membership fee and the entry fee for pretty much every federation going. And then
some shows you enter on the day, don't you? So
yeah, some shows some shows you're entering on the day and you're paying it there and then.
Yeah.
Nowadays, most shows now, you'll pay your membership fee in advance and then you'll enter through whatever platform they've got, you pay for it. But some shows, if they're not full, will still allow entries on the day.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like you say, the other costs rack up. If you're paying for your tan, you're paying for your tan. If you've got your hair and makeup, you're then thinking bikini, your heels. If you're a female competitor, you've got all the makeup and hair accessories and stuff that you want to be using. You have to factor the fact that your coach is a cost, your food is a cost, your gym membership is a cost.
I guess as well, your family and friends coming to spectate. I forgot about that, because actually when I did WABA in Portugal, I think I think it was 60 or 70 pound each for mum and Kieran to
Yeah.
spectate. And you know, some people don't have 70 quid.
No, I know. I know it's really something to bear in mind. And show day is where all of that comes together. But you do need to be prepared. Like, it is an outlay. You know, it's not, you've got to, if you're going to start competing, you need to set yourself a budget and understand that this is going to cost however much, or you want to have a saving enough or have enough money to go, right, I'm going to just throw all this into it and just do what I want to do. But you know, you're averaging your membership in this country between 50 and 120 quid across the federations, and then your entries are averaging between, what I've seen, 20 and 40 quid for entries.
Yeah.
And then tan and all of that, oh my god, it depends on what kind of package you want. Do you want the one with glaze? Do you want the one without glaze? Do you want the tan the night before and on the day, or do you just want on the day? Like, these all cost different things, so you've got to work out what you're willing to outlay.
Yeah, and you need to bear that in mind. It's such a key thing to not let that, you know, oh, I'll do this, and then it's like, I haven't got any money left.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You always need to budget for it, and things like your accommodation and, you know, traveling there, your friends and family and all that sort of stuff. And on the subject, I said to you I'd bring this up because I forgot on the Peak Week one. Try and remember to take bedding with you if you're having your tan the night before and you're staying in a hotel.
Yeah, sheets.
Like, this is the biggest, like, I guess, rookie error, because
yeah, you don't want a bill from the hotel either, because that would just be rubbish.
Yeah, and that's why it made me think of it, because it would be a fee. Like, I've when we went to Wabba, Mexico, one of the girls, her other half managed to get the tan out of the bedding, but she was like, am I going to get my deposit for the room back? Like, what? Because the bedding was white, which it normally is in hotels, and it was absolutely caked in and we were all like, oh my god. So he went and brought some detergent in Mexico and he washed it in the bath, and I was like, oh, I've got my my show day sheets. I didn't even think to say anything to you, and she'd competed several times before, but she'd never stayed in a hotel the night before.
So she just didn't like think about it. Yeah, it's a really easy mistake. Again, it's just another one of those like key tips, like
loose clothing. Make sure you've got your loose clothing and your flip flops for the tan.
Yeah,
all of these like little things that you learn over the way.
Oh my god, I know. And another tip as well, like, so you don't wreck tan, have a little roller suitcase. That helps. Put your stuff in a roller suitcase so you're not in a bag over your shoulder, like carrying all your stuff in it. Like, the little travel suitcase is perfect for all your needs. So yeah.
And actually thinking about that, when I was in Portugal, I had like a loose top and some baggy trousers, and the tanning man was actually like, you're going to be better off wearing your gown. So I've got one from that place. Yeah. And Mandy does really nice ones. You can get your name put on the back, sparkle and stuff. And I didn't actually correlate that the reason that you use them is for after your tan, so you can stay, you're not warm because they're very thin, but it gives you some covering. I thought it was just because everyone wanted a robe with their name on.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't quite.
It's a bit both now, isn't it? Like, I've had pro prep ones made. I love them, and
they're so cool. Like, it's that little bit of extra.
Yeah, it's just like they're little silk gowns. You can have. There's a couple of different colors. Like, I give them to the girls for show day, just so that, you know, they've got that like that nice femininity about it as well. You know, it just is. Just again, it's another layer on top of the experience. It's feeling good through the day.
Yeah, and I definitely think that, you know, touching on feeling good through the day, having that element of wanting to, you know, potentially, you know, connect with other people, maybe make some new friends and what have you. But also, I don't know about you, I'd still think about not immersing too much with other people's experience, and take some time for yourself. You know, even if it's you go and take 10-20 minutes, just because otherwise you can end up on this like adrenaline, like makeup, adrenaline, eat, adrenaline. You meet someone new, you go and get your tan, and then suddenly you've got half an hour and you're like, whoa.
And it is so true, actually. I'm on that with the timings of things. I was saying to my client Zoe, she did her first show this year, Two Bros weekend.
Yeah.
And I was doing a final check-in, and I was looking at her and just saying to her, now listen, go to where you need to be now, because I can tell you right now, it's the way it happens every time. You think you have about an hour and you'll be fine to get on stage. It never happens like that. You get backstage and suddenly it's frantic, 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 frantic. You're up, 20 minutes, let's go. And it's that quick. And it's like, it always happens. Even when they say, like, you have 45 minutes, and then you're in the backstage here, and they're literally like, right, girls, line up.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell? It happens every time. And so I always sort of, like I said to her, this weekend, I said, just get back there. And even if they're saying to you, your class isn't ready yet, start 10 minutes earlier. She literally was like, it's exactly what you said. It was like, we were there, they were like, you've got half an hour. And actually it was 10 minutes. And then they were up.
Yeah.
And so it's like little tips like that from experience.
Yeah.
Get where you need to be, focus on yourself. If you feel like you want to start pumping up a little bit earlier because you've just got the vibe that you're going to be on a bit sooner, be intuitive and just do it for yourself. Like, because I've been in that situation where I'm like, there's no way it's going to be 45 minutes till we're on. It's going to be definitely around 20. And I'm stood over there like pumping up, and I've got another couple of people being like, what are you doing? Like, we're not pumping up yet.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we're on in like 10 minutes flat. And that's the kind of thing you pick up with experience. But if we can shed some of that to just people who have never done this already, that's something to think about, guys. When you get there, intuitive, look around you, listen, watch, check the classes, make sure you're ready, and you'll feel so much more confident in yourself.
And on that note, backstage as well, again, being intuitive, but also being objective as to, you're suddenly, if it is your first time in particular, you're suddenly exposed to who you're going to be competing against.
Yeah.
And please, if you take one thing from today, it's remember, you are you. There's nothing else you can do about it once you're backstage. If you've done everything you can to get to where you are, you've immersed, you're just about to go on stage, you're in that lineup. Oh, such a good feeling.
Yeah, it's so good.
All of these people that you're going to be competing against, you've all been on a journey, you're all going to get on your time to grace the stage.
Yeah.
And it's that moment, it's almost like I always have this moment where I'm like, wow, what got me here, this prep. And as soon as you come out onto that stage, it's go time. And it goes so quick. So those moments backstage, enjoy it. Don't try not to start looking at everyone thinking she's better than me, she's got better glutes than me, her hair's nicer than me, she's prettier than me. All of those things that they do go through your mind.
Oh yeah, totally couldn't agree with you more. This isn't a time when you're backstage to doubt yourself, although it's natural to look around. And the thing is our eyes see what they're telling us to see, if you know what I mean, because we're nervous and we're like looking at people because we're all competitive, we're there to compete. But I've done that before where I'll be like, no chance, there's just no chance for me here. Like, what's this is I'm gonna go out and give my best, but there's no way, and I'll have thought that kind of thing. And the people that I've been looking at thinking those things, I placed ahead of them. And then I'm like,
same. Yeah.
Objectivity when you're backstage, you might be pinpointing on their greatest asset, but when they're in the lineup, symmetry and everything, you never know what's going to happen. You never ever know. So,
and a massive thing from a learning point for me was that one particular show, I was in the lineup and I thought, these girls are fire, like shit. These girls are on point. But when we got on stage, I was able to exhibit my body better through my posing, and I won the show. And all that practice had gone in, and that's not me blowing my own trumpet, but I actually did have moments where I thought, oh, fuck, like you just said, you're looking and you're like, condition wise, have I done enough? And I think deep down I knew I had, but you think, if these girls pose as well as I hope to pose, this is going to be tough. And it was a fight to the death. But don't I guess the main point is don't let it put you off. You've
No,
got
just
that far.
yeah, and accept that that's a wee bit part of it. You know, you're going to have those little moments of self-doubt or critical thinking of yourself when you're in that space, but it's important not to let that override the reason why you're there to do what you do, and you're just going to go out and bring the best of you. This sport is you versus you. It's not you versus anybody else. You cannot be somebody else's physique. You cannot. You can only do what you can with the physique you have, and then progress and come back better. And that's like the essence of this, you know. And win, lose, second, third, fourth, fifth place, it doesn't matter. You know, it's about a test of character and strength and proving to yourself that you're one of the very few that can even make it to that point there on the stage. That's the most rewarding thing, is the resilience and discipline you have to even get there through, you know, months of hard work. That's worth one hell of a congratulations itself. And I don't want that to sound cheesy, like, oh, you know, the people that haven't won have done as well. In my opinion, the trophy is a wonderful thing, but like I think I said to you a couple of podcasts ago, when you can get to the point where you can look at yourself just before you go on stage and go, I'm so fucking proud of myself, like, of what I've achieved. You've already won in your head. Like, that's it.
Such a good fit. That internal gratification, it's unbelievable.
Oh, it's better than anything.
Yeah,
it's better than any first place or any trophy when you truly accept yourself for who you are and what you've managed to do. That is, if you can get to that point and not criticize yourself and just see yourself for what you are and what you've managed to do, that is ridiculously rewarding.
Nothing equates to it. You know, you can have trophies, you can have medals, but if you're there on your day and you're able to put a lot of the things that we've spoken about today into play and fully immerse whatever immerse means to you. Immerse to me might mean different to what it does to you. But whatever you want to get from that day, if you can take that, it's such a nice feeling. And
it is.
We said we'd sort of finish today on giving one of our rituals that means something to us, and I guess that this leads us into that really nicely.
What would you say, Sarah?
So my fave, so the reason it's led into it is because my favorite one is when I wake up, like we said, sleep's not always that good the night before, but I sort of try and get out of bed maybe sort of 4:30, 5 and start to just move around a little bit, just get the feel, go to the toilet, all those things. And then I get back in bed, I put my headphones on, and there's a Denzel Washington
YouTube. I love it.
And it's so good. Like, so I find with headphones, it makes it even more intense.
Oh yeah, it's so intense. It's like in your head. Yeah.
And it's pitch black. So I put the headphones in, I lay under the covers, and I've got them like right up to there, and I listen to this speech and I cry the whole time. But it's not a cry because I'm unhappy or sad. It's a cry because of everything that's gone into getting me to that day, for me to grace the stage again and take what I want from that day. And it's so euphoric. Like I'm almost like I have a little laugh and I cry and I like all these weird, anyone would think I'm a raving lunatic, but it's honestly so it's like I'm on drugs because I feel so connected and it's unbelievable. Like every word means something to me at the moment, you know, and then, you know, I cry and I let all these tears out and then I'm like, I'm ready. The day, and then the day comes. And it's just, I love that. For me, I almost do this now to enforce, you know, bring about the cry to let that out.
Yeah, it's great. That's such a great thing. It's a really nice little, it's a really connective ritual for you, just to kind of, without going all kind of into the stuff I'm interested in. It's like aligning your chakras all in the one place and going.
But it is, yeah.
And then
clear it out.
Yeah, owning that confidence in you, but in a really humble way where you've brought all of that hard work to the center. And I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Yeah.
What have, I know you've mentioned a couple already, but have you got any that you haven't mentioned yet?
I haven't well, I think I've mentioned the ritual the night before that I kind of do,
Chink.
which is, yeah, I do my little chink if I've got Andrew there, that is. But I do a meditation with him the night before to settle my nerves. And that for me really, really helps, because if I wake up the next morning, I do quite a bit of this anyway, but like breathing exercises to just keep really calm. I will wake up and do my breath work. That's what I always do. But one thing I like to do actually at the venue, once I know the lay of the land and I'm there and I'm immersed in the place and I can see where I'm at, I think I've said this as well, for me, the performance element of it is my thing. And I love having the opportunity to either do my walk or routine, depending on the organization that I'm in. And it doesn't matter where it is, I'll find a point where I can take myself off to a little space and I'll just do my routine or do my walk and just completely and utterly imagine myself on the stage doing it. And I'll do that a few times, but that's a little moment for me. That's a wee moment to feel the energy in my body, to feel like I've brought it all, to get my little inner Steph confidence on, and just to kind of get excited. Because if I've moved, I'm a very moody person. Like, I move a lot. I'm a very gesturing, moody person. So for me, if I'm moving and I've done it a few times and I feel like I'm in this space, I get it, I'm here, it makes me feel like I've arrived, and then I'm able to perform. So that's probably where I'd say my ritual goes. But I love what you've just said. And I think, a lot of people will find some motivational speech or something they've heard that just taps into their inner psyche, that helps them just go, yes, let's go.
Yeah, and it's so like, I've tried other ones and none of them, it's not even about bodybuilding, the speech, because I find some bodybuilding motivational videos are way too intense.
It's so over the top, some of them.
Or on show day when you want to have a cry, they don't quite correlate.
Oh my
you
God.
will do this. It's basically about, realizing your own potential, and also he touches on failing is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm feeding my subconscious that if I don't win or if I don't place, I'm doing it and other people aren't, and I don't have to, this is all voluntary. And it gives you that reinforcement as to you've done everything you can to get here, so what will be.
Yeah, totally.
Love it.
What will be. And it's, go into a show humble. Don't
Just
don't
be
be too
a good
much, don't
person.
put too much pressure on yourself. Just
Just
enjoy
be
it
nice.
and have fun. People forget this. Have fun. It's not all like serious, you can actually enjoy this stuff. So
to be fair as well, you've done the serious bit, you've done the
you've done it all. Like, this is the time now. Just
yeah.
officially let the hair down, and get out there and do your thing and have fun with it. Yeah.
Love it. I can't wait to compete again now. I don't know about you.
I know. Oh my God, I'm off to start prep tonight.
Yeah. Prep starts tomorrow.
I said to Andrew today, because of course I have to drop this in, the WMBF UK is now, we're just about to announce the date for the first show in autumn. But I said to Andrew, I was like, I could prep in that time.
I'm just going to prep so I can be the, represent the brand.
Well, I was like, I can't look out of shape in my first show, surely.
Those types of things, when you're a competitor, go through your head. Like, I've just paid for my FitX tickets.
Yeah.
So that's July the 3rd and 4th in Liverpool. And I'm going to hook up with various people I know across the globe of the bodybuilding world. And I'm like, well, I would have only been in prep for about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm still going to be carrying some body fat here. I don't know if this is right.
I know, it's like, that's what we do, isn't it, though? I think, you're representing what you love, though. It's like health and fitness to me. You're a role model. If you love this and you're passionate about it, this is my life. Bodybuilding is what I do. I love it. And we're two people here right now talking about this, and 8:15 at night. You know, this is dedication, girl.
Yeah.
Like,
We love it.
I know. I mean, it makes sense sometimes when I think about things like that. Oh, I've got this, you know, I'm about to run this event in autumn, and I want to inspire people. Like, this is going to be an awesome event for natural bodybuilding. It's going to be really exciting for so many people to come together that we all know.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, it's just my happy place. So
the thing is, for you though, I don't know whether you agree, but I'm going to have to give you a big compliment here. Even when you're at the height of your off season, you look banging. Like, this is inspo. I had a lady, I haven't told you, stop me on the seafront in Bognor the other day, one of the members at my gym, and she was like, I watched that YouTube video you've been doing with, is it Steph? Well, I ended up on her Instagram, and does she actually look like that? I'm like, she's fire. Like, this is serious inspo.
I'll take that.
I wouldn't worry.
Thanks, Sarah. Oh, I really appreciate
like, I get, once you get to the point we have, like, we're never out of shape as we maybe think we look.
You're
if you know what I mean, without
you hold a decent composition because you know how by this point. You don't let things go too far the other way because you don't want them to, you know.
No, and it's not even a point of arrogance, is it?
It's just healthy. It's a lifestyle.
We look like we do what we do because we do what we do.
Because we do what we do. So, do you know what? I quite like being able to walk the walk and talk the talk. Though I think that's important.
Massive. And hopefully our listeners feel the same.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've all stayed with us for a long one tonight.
Yeah.
And
we knew the show day would be a good long one, didn't we?
Oh yeah. And as always, any questions, you know where we are, drop us a comment. Where can people find you, Sarah?
So Instagram's my best point of contact. That's Sarah Parker Hatchard, and I'll release this video on my YouTube, as will you on your, Steph.
I will indeed. So I'm the same, Steph Noble Figure Pro, and Pro Prep Coaching is the Instagrams. And if anyone is interested in competing, I'm going to do a subtle drop here. Go
why not?
Check out the @WNBF UK Instagram, which is the lead to the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation for the UK affiliate. So we're very excited to launch this autumn. And if anybody is keen to get any more information, please let me know.
Awesome. And I look forward to next time already, as we always do. We love our rambles.
We do. And it's going to be post-show, which is of course going to be very
serious.
I think it will be a really serious one. Of course, there's quite a lot of in-depth there, and there's a lot of emotions that go on at that point. So that'll be one to tune in, and we've got some pretty cool guests lined up as well.
So exciting. We're gonna, I guess, try and we've done doing a contest prep, our peak week show day, then we'll do our post show, but we're intermingling the guest ones in between so we can keep lots of different content and different topics for you guys. So thank you as ever. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and always a pleasure, Sarah. So I look forward to speaking to you soon, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.